type of demented thinking.
Because I defend the Constitution. No, let me tell you. According to the issue, when the attack is closed, stick to the issue. The issue is the process freedom.
Listen, Mr. Slime, like you in the White House, I puke on you.
Ron Paul is not going to be president of the United States. The next president of the United States is going to have the name Bachmann or Perry or Romney or Obama. And that's probably it unless somebody enters the field.
If our views, keep growing in popularity as they are, it's a real threat to the establishment. So the establishment is well protected in many of those individuals that control the 5 major networks.
Let's talk about Ron Paul, because he just won another straw poll in California, and he keeps winning straw polls, but I guess if history is any gauge, it doesn't really mean very much.
You don't need a majority. You need, what he said, was an irate, tireless minority willing to start the brush fires of freedom in the minds of man.
I am gaining recognition in the campaign, and it's a threat to a lot of people. It's a threat to the military-industrial complex. It's a threat to the bankers, the big corporations who get all the benefit. It's a threat to the people who preach that we have to be in the world and be in all these countries. So I think it's big banks, big money, big corporations, and the people who want to be the warmongers.
What the hell is going on?
It's pretty amazing. I mean, you sort of assume maybe some of this was happening because I think like 90 seconds was about the amount of time that the Ron Paul camp had to respond also in talks. There's not a lot of time for these guys.
We have a top tier. It is Mitt Romney, Rick Perry, and Michelle Bachmann.
We have a new top tier, and it's Perry, Mitt Romney, and Bachmann.
There's now a top tier, at least for now, of Romney, Perry, and Bachmann.
Poll. Romney leads New Hampshire. Huntsman third. Perry fourth. Now, do they know how to count? Why would they omit saying who was in second? Well, you know why. Ron Paul.
Down to Iowa favorite Michelle Bachmann to 4th.
Behind who? How did Libertarian Ron Paul become the 13th floor in a hotel? But is there a media bias against him? Just from the media's point of view, isn't he good for the media because he challenges Republican orthodoxy and causes debate and generates and stimulates the discussion about ideas that the other Republicans don't want to talk about?
Well, that's right. It's because he is such an extraordinary candidate that the mainstream media doesn't pay attention. Every time Ron Paul comes out, attracts huge crowds, gets numbers that are sufficient in the polls to say this could be your Republican nominee, the mainstream media that refuse to acknowledge. It's like he's standing in front of them and they say, I don't believe it. Don't believe it. I'm going to rub my eyes and see if I can. Oh, he's still there. Yeah.
The key issue is the economy.
Right.
No one has been stronger on what has caused these problems. No one has been more consistent. No one has done more to bring the Federal Reserve and money printing and central planning of economic activity into focus than Ron Paul.
This is all Ron Paul. This is all Ron Paul.
2% favor Ron Paul. 52%. They believe that he'll win Iowa. Now, that's right. This is pretty incredible. This is not something that you see normally on CNN. So having said that, you spent some time in Iowa. What do you think? Does he have a shot at winning?
What the people decide, Republican voters, and that's possible. I mean, imagine a Romney Gingrich ticket or a Ron Paul ticket or a.
It has Ron Paul. It's Ron Paul, right, John? Thank you. Ron
Paul's in poll.
Thank you, John. It has Ron Paul as the new front runner in Iowa.
It's interesting with Ron Paul suddenly on top in Iowa. Newt Gingrich slipping, Governor Romney picking up.
I'm not going to lie to you. It would be fun to watch Ron Paul win it in Iowa this year. It would make pundits' heads explode everywhere, right? But because what he'd be winning is the Republican caucuses in Iowa, that result would also mean roughly nothing to the rest of the presidential race.
The real danger is if he wins Iowa, let me just say this, if he wins Iowa, I think it discredits the Iowa caucus as the way Pat Robertson's. You can't win.
The Ron Paul people are not going to like my saying this, but to a certain degree it will discredit the Iowa caucuses because, rightly or wrongly, I think most of the Republican establishment thinks he's not going to end up as the nominee, so therefore Iowa won't count.
By the way, Ron Paul cannot get elected, I'm sorry to tell you.
He's now leading the polls in Iowa. It's kind of prickly whenever he's asked about this. And because, as we just learned tonight, his story appears to have changed over the years as well. Now that's him today taking off his microphone, cutting short the questioning from CNN's Gloria Borger. The questions have to do with racially inflammatory writings published in monthly newsletters.
The mainstream media's plan is to push Newt Gingrich to the public. All their other plans have failed. Realize this. Don't be manipulated. Google Ron Paul.